If you are watching this video, there is a good chance you already know the feeling that I'm about to describe. Perhaps you take a vacation and your phone does not stop. You block off a morning to think strategically, only to spend it answering questions your team should be handling. You have built something real, something that generates revenue and employs people and serves clients, and yet somehow the whole thing still runs through you. Every decision, every approval, every fire. And the question beneath it all is one that nobody wants to say out loud. Why does my business still depend on me for everything? And the answer is not that you hired the wrong people. It is not that you are a control freak in your business. It is not a personal failing of any kind. It is a structural problem, and it has a name. I am Fredrickson, founder of the COO Solution. A founder bottleneck occurs when a business outgrows the founder's capacity to hold everything together. In the early days, you being the center of everything, it made sense. You were the one who knew the clients, knew the process, made the calls, and kept things moving. That was not a problem. That was survival. But at some point, the business grew. More clients, more team members, more complexity. And the systems and structure that should have grown along with it did not, because you were too busy running the business to build the infrastructure that would eventually run it without you. You are not the founder of a business now. You are the load-bearing wall, and everything routes through you, not because you want it to, but because the business was never structurally built to function any other way. That is not the same as burnout, though the two often go hand in hand. Burnout is an energy problem. The founder bottleneck is a structural problem. You can rest, you can recover and come back with full energy, yet still be the bottleneck because the business structure did not change while you were gone. And here is the mechanism most founders and CEOs never have named for them directly. Your business depends on you because three things live inside you that belong inside the business: decisions, knowledge, and process. The decisions that should be made by your leadership team get routed back to you because the authority structure has never been clearly defined. And the knowledge that should be documented and transferable exists only in your head. And lastly, the processes that should be repeatable and team-owned have never been built out of that tribal knowledge that only you carry. Here's an example. Research from the Alternative Board, a peer advisory organization serving business owners with more than 1 million in annual revenue, puts a number to this. On average, owners work nearly 50 hours a week, but they believe they should be working closer to 42. More importantly, they spend only 32% of their time working on the business rather than in it, even though 73% say they would rather be doing exactly that. That gap between where founders want to spend their time and where they actually are spending their time is the founder bottleneck in data form. And here's what makes it insidious. The harder you work to close that gap yourself, the worse it gets. Because every time you step in to make a decision, answer a question, or solve a problem that should belong to somebody else on your team, you are training them to expect the answer to always come from you. You are reinforcing the dependency rather than dismantling it. Being needed when it becomes structural rather than situational quietly becomes the ceiling of your business. Now you might be asking yourself, is this a structure problem or a you problem? And this is the question most founders ask themselves privately and answer incorrectly. The answer is almost never you. And I say that not to make you feel better, but because it is structurally true. The founder bottleneck is not a leadership failure. It is what happens when a business scales past the point where one person can hold everything and the organizational structure has not kept pace. The business outgrew the structure just never got built. Research from Business.com's 2025 Small Business Leader Study found that operational inefficiencies consume an average of 6.5 hours of leadership time every single week. And 41% of small business leaders want to spend more time on growth, but only 35% actually manage it, averaging just 4 hours a week. That is not a personal discipline problem. That is an infrastructure problem showing up in a time study. And here at the COO Solution, we call this the operating gap. The distance between where you are spending your time and where your business actually needs you to be. The operating gap does not close by working harder. It closes by building the operational structure that allows the business to function without your constant involvement. That is the reframe worth carrying into the rest of this video. The founder bottleneck is not a character flaw. It is a structural gap. And structural gaps have structural solutions. Now, there are a few signals that are worth naming directly because most founders recognize them but have not connected them to the same root cause. Every decision routes back to you, not because your team is incapable, but because the decision-making authority has never been formally distributed. Your team has learned correctly that the answer ultimately comes from you. So they go to you first. You cannot take real time off from your business. Not a vacation where you are fully disconnected. Not a day where your phone stays quiet. Not a week where the business runs without incident. The US Bureau of Labor Statistics data on business survival rates tells part of the story. Nearly half of businesses fail within 5 years, and a significant driver of that failure is a founder-dependent structure that cannot scale or sustain itself under pressure. You are firefighting instead of leading. Your days are reactive. The strategic work, the growth conversations, the long view decisions that only you can make keep getting pushed to the side because the operational demands of the present state of the business never stop. And beneath it all, growth has quietly hit a ceiling, not because the market is not there, not because your team is not capable, but because the business can only move as fast as you can personally process it. That is what the founder bottleneck costs, and it compounds every single week it goes unaddressed in your business. And listen, the fix is not delegation in the conventional sense, okay? Most founders have tried delegation. They hand off a task. The task comes back to them, either wrong or incomplete. And the business owner concludes it is faster and just easier to do it themselves. And that conclusion feels true, but is the wrong lesson. The fix is transferring ownership of systems, not just tasks. Delegate outcomes, not tasks. A task is a one-time action. A system is a repeatable process with a defined owner, a clear standard, and accountability attached to an outcome rather than to you. So when your team owns systems rather than waiting for simple task assignments, the business develops the capacity to function independently of your daily involvement. This is the work the integrator role was designed to do in an EOS business, and is the work a fractional COO does within any founder-led business, regardless of whether it runs on EOS or not. A fractional COO embeds themselves in the business and does three things that structurally break the founder bottleneck. They build the operating structure, systems, accountability rhythms, and decision-making frameworks that allow the team to function without routing everything upward to you. They lead the leadership team directly, which means the team has a second in command to go to rather than defaulting to the founder over and over again. And they protect the founder's time by shouldering the operational weight that was never meant to fall on the visionary or CEO in the first place. The result is not that you step away from your business, it is that you step into the part of it that actually needs you, the strategy, the relationships, the growth decisions, focusing on the future, while a capable operator runs everything else. Now, before we close, one thing worth sitting with. The founder bottleneck is one of the most common and most expensive problems in growth stage businesses. It is also one of the least talked about because it feels like a personal failure rather than a structural one. It is not. The businesses that break through it are not the ones where the founder worked harder or became more disciplined or found a better productivity system. They are the ones where the founder recognized in themselves the structural gap for what it was and brought in the right operational leadership to close it. Listen, you built something worth scaling. The question is whether the structure around you is built to support that scale, or whether it is still depending on you to hold it all together personally. Now, if any of what you heard in this video sounds familiar, the right starting point is understanding exactly what kind of operational support your business needs, not just right now, but for down the road. So take the COO Solutions Fractional COO Readiness Quiz at thecoosolution.com. It takes only a few minutes and it gives you a really clear picture of where the gaps are and what the right path forward may look like for you. Or schedule a discovery call directly with me and we'll walk through your specific situation together. This is the COO Solution.